Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining through YouTube as well as through Zoom. Um, I could see that people are still joining, but that's okay. Like last time, whoever has attended the previous session, kindly post your questions through Mentee, and that can be done if you see the screen. You can see that. Um Either you can use your phone or any platform, and you go to a web browser, type mentee.com, and then type the code. So that is a place where we will have questioning sessions, and also a lot of more interactive data will be there. So it would be better that you use this platform, because mostly chat people might not be looking at it, but this all the questions will be shared on the screen, so it will be very much more interactive. Okay, so we shall start by 2:05. I'll wait for another 2 minutes. So the code that you have to give is 317499. For all our online meetings, the code will be same, that is 317499. And once you do this, you should get this particular page. As I progress with the slides, you will be able to see further updates. So you have to submit your data. I mean, there will be some questionnaires will be asked, and you have to submit it. In the meanwhile, you can click on there is when you go to this mentee.com, and when you give the code on the first page, it will be asking you to ask a question. So you can ask question on all the slides, but there is a time period where we are going to discuss about these questions. So that time we will discuss about it, but you can start submitting your questions right away. There's another 1 more minute to go. So if you have any questions in mind related to internships or career, you can submit it there. So we will be having we'll be ready with a lot of questions, and we can start going for discussion rather waiting for the questions during that slide. Okay, so it's almost 2:05. Yeah, I can see there are three questions come up. So like that, you can submit your questions. But anyway, we will discuss this later. Now we will start with the session. So thank you all for joining the session, and we will start with the next slide. I request everyone to go to the Mentee site, and please cast your vote. So the participants here are requested to kindly switch off your webcam for better buffering. So everybody will be on muted, but if you wanted to involve in the discussions, of course you can unmute yourself, and then kindly tell your name for each discussion. It is very important because we wanted to know who is asking the question, but all the questions through Mentee is anonymous, so we don't know who is submitting it. But when you come over to the audio, kindly mention what is your name and from which institute. That will be very helpful. And also questions can be shared only via Mentee, but we can answer and do discussions through audio Zoom. And the agenda of the meeting will be decided based on the participants' interest from the next slide. And please let me tell you, this meeting is scheduled till 2:30, but if it is still getting extended, kindly leave the meeting and rejoin using the same ID. I mean the same link which I have given. Then we can rejoin it again. Okay, just for your information. So here it is going. So you can submit your agenda, like now you have to submit your what is your interest for today to discuss. So you can submit your polling. I think you can submit up to maximum 5 options. So kindly do it as soon as possible, so we don't waste our time um, just waiting for the casting. So once you submit your, so you scroll down, you can click on the options when it becomes tick mark, and you scroll down, you can see submit, and when you click on submit, it goes and submitted here. Yeah, I can see 4 people have already submitted. So there are more than 16 participants. Only 4 is on Mentee. I would request a few more so that it will be a, we'll be discussing today something based on participants' interest. Okay, I'll wait for a few more minutes. I can see 6 submissions. Any more? If someone needs, are you all able to find this site? I can help you that. So you have to go to mentee.com in the browser and then click on 317499. The code, it will ask for the code. So that's how you get into it. Okay. Anyway, so I am fair enough. We have 8 of them, so that is fine. We will continue with the next uh, next slide. So kindly give your rating on how far you wanted to understand, like compiling a good CV, scientific writing reports, public speaking and presentation skills, asking ability to ask the right questions, scientific reading, able to find informations yourself, the right information when you're writing papers, meeting deadlines and teamworks. So you can slide those ratings which is there, so that will help you. I can see one have 2 people have submitted it. Okay. Okay, so, there are 7 submissions. I'll end here. So based on the last 2 slides, so it's here on the agenda I can see many of you are interested to look at research internship. Okay, and then you also wanted to discuss about getting ready with your CV, career opportunities, and then with entrepreneurship. So this is kind of a mixed thing, so we will try to come up based on your questions, and we'll try to have a discussion on that. And on the confidence level, I could see that the shortage here is on scientific reading as expected, and meeting deadlines also is not about 3, and scientific writing and report skills also less than 3, compiling good CV, statement of purpose, covering letter is also less than 3. Okay, so these are the things that we also have to focus on. Good. Now, today we'll be discussing about the topics ranked top. As we know, it is about research internship, preparing your CV, career opportunities, and entrepreneurship. And all of you should refer to open source data, and no promotions are entertained. And all the opinions and discussions are personal views with no connection or relation to current employers of yours or myself or corporates or any others individuals. Okay. So, um, before going to answer your questions and all those things, we as an organization, I'm going to talk about us first, and then we will generalize and talk about the normal scenario. We give internship program for two kind of 2 different programs. One is early stage research internship or training. This is for non-PhD students. That means it could be bachelor's or master's who are pursuing or who are about to finish or who are just starting. So for them, we do this kinds of internship. What we require is a detailed CV, a project research proposal, at least 1 page with references, then a statement of purpose, then application form. Of course, we will be sharing it with you, and a complete on completion certificate will be issued based on the final your scientific report, and this is a fee based but completely refundable on your performance. Means once your project is being completed, if you are able to present or give at a conference, then we will be able to cover the cost of that conference. So that's how you get it refunded back. So this is something completely based on your performance. Now, of course, we do check plagiarism on a project research proposal and statement of purpose. So ensure you don't copy from online, and be sure that you are honest to what you are submitting it. The next part is that the research internship. This is especially for scholars who are already pursuing PhD or about to register or just registered PhD. What all the documents I requested in the previous slide all to be submitted, but the current and as well as 1 year interns also can be accepted for PG level students. So if you are an MSc but or integrated subject and you wanted to do a long term internship, of course you are able to do. Consent from guide is very important because you are staying away from your institution. 6+ months is mandatory, minimum 6 months is mandatory for this kind of internship. There is no fee at all, but publication is mandatory, and stipend options are available after 6 months. So after you join, 3 months we see how the things goes, and after that there will be stipend options available. So now let us go to the generalized information on what all topics we try to consider. So we try to consider machine learning in CAD, uh, including Cheminformatics and others, target identification, mutational studies, then drug design and discovery, drug repurposing, systems biology, which is polypharmacology, that is where we mainly focus, and portal developments for QSAR modeling is something that which we look at. So these are the main things that we focus on. So yeah, so these are the where we wanted to discuss also. Now today, based on this, whatever I have given you an overview, we can generalize things and also discuss. So now you can start submitting your questions, or you can unmute yourself and start discussing. So we have 4 questions here. Let me go through one by one. Role of biostatistics in drug discovery and ML. I think this question was raised by Robin. If you could unmute yourself and tell me specifically what you're mainly saying about biostatistics. Of course, statistics has a big role, but can you please specify a more detail what you are expecting on biostatistics? I just unmuted you, so you can speak. Yeah, Robin. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Sir, I wanted to ask you that what type of statistics we use in drug discovery and machine learning.
Okay.
Like we have two types of statistics,
Yep.
descriptive and inferential.
Correct.
So what type of inferential statistics we basically use in drug discovery?
Okay.
I want to know the gist of it.
I understand. So her question is not specifically on statistics, but generally, what are the role of or statistics on drug discovery and ML? So in drug discovery, or let's imagine machine learning. Of course, machine learning is a combination of linear algebra, statistics, as well as programming. Without statistics, machine learning is zero. So during 2001, 2002, I was doing a lot many statistics into the SAR modeling studies. During that time, we used a genetic algorithm, support vector machines, a random forest. Then we used other regression methods like multiple regression, that is linear regression methods, then partial least squares, that is PLS, then principal component analysis, which is PCA, and other many more like methods are available. Even machine learning methods are there, like GPR, that is Gaussian process regression method. So the machine learning evolved from statistics anyway. So you need to have a better understanding of statistics and its parameters in order to do anything in machine learning. Now coming to drug discovery. So when you do anything kind of statistics, either you should have a categorical data or a quantitative, that is what is it, numerical data. These two data are very important. Now what are the things that you want to correlate with your property? So you will be having an activity or a property that you want to correlate with them. So let's say in the case of drug discovery, you have a structure and you have some property or activity. How you are going to correlate among them? So how the structure can be translated and correlated to a numerical or a categorical data. That's where we are trying to elucidate the properties of the structures, and then we use statistical as well as machine learning methods to correlate with the activity. So unfortunately, you need to know a bit of mathematics, the role of different statistical parameter which has its significance on drug discovery activity, because that's what I told in my last session, also previous session. You need to have a good understanding of physical significance of your structure properties related to the activity. It's not just statistics. So when Robin has mentioned about biostatistics, I keep bio within the bracket or parenthesis, mentioning that there should be an importance to the mechanism as well as to physical significance when you also consider statistical parameters to validate a model. So did I answer that question, Robin?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, do you make us to perform experiments and train us? Okay, this is based on, I think, the previous slides on the internships. Of course, internship in the sense means it is a training program. It doesn't mean that you're just listening or watching people doing. I understand when you work on sophisticated equipments, you have to unfortunately stand still and watch because they are so expensive, and with very much care you have to handle it. But coming to in silico studies or computational studies, of course you have to learn it and do it. It is not and try to consider it is not black boxing. Don't think that if you have set of tutorials with you, you can perform the calculations and then you can come up. The ultimately you have to interpret and analyze the data. Data analysis or result analysis is one of the important part that you have to get trained yourself. That is what I saw in your uh, on what you're looking at, the capabilities. Reading is bit very less. So scientific reading specifically, because everybody might be reading novels and other books, storybooks, but scientific reading is something different. So can you please tell me how you usually do reading of a paper? Do you just read a conclusion or methodology or abstract introduction? So can you please unmute yourself and just involve in this discussion?
So I go through reading the abstract first.
Okay, that's it for the whole
Yeah.
paper. You don't read the whole
No, no,
paper.
no, 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 no. I first read the abstract and then I go to the results and see what the theory is. If the abstract makes an interest of mine, then I go through reading the whole paper.
Okay, so basically you try to read mainly abstract. If it is attractive, you go to read the paper. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other opinion? Uh, Others, kindly please unmute yourself. If you don't know, I can unmute you. If you just raise your hands, there is an option to raise the hand. Guys, this is an interactive session. I'm not doing any presentation here.
Sir,
Yes,
am I audible?
yes.
Usually, when I read a paper, it depends on the context. If I'm mostly interested in the methodology part, I'll first jump into depending on the paper.
Okay,
I'll jump into the material methods.
okay,
And if I'm first of all, trying to understand the concept, I'll mostly concentrate on the introduction and the discussion rather than the methodology.
Okay, good. That's a different perspective. Yes, good. Thank you. So she mostly looks at introduction and see if everything goes well. Then very curious to go into the results part and also cover the discussion part. So bit by bit, if it is getting evolved, she tries to read the full paper. That's what the comment came. So any others? There are many participants anyway. Nobody wanted to engage into this. Anyway, so let me tell you. So both of you said is true, but let me tell you, the brain of or the take home message of a research article is only in the discussion part. In some journals it is results and discussion, in some its discussion is separate. That is a take home message for you. Of course, understanding the context. Reading an abstract and making a decision is fine, but not always. Sometimes abstract might not be completely visible on what is being explained completely inside. So ultimately, based on the title and the keywords, you will be deciding to look at a paper. When you're looking at a paper, the first part I would recommend to go through is a discussion part. If the discussion part, okay, this is something that I have something to take from this paper, then you have to go deeper into other parts. Of course, introduction is helpful, abstract is helpful, but in some papers the essence of abstract might be missing, because that's what, when I review many papers, I can see that very less comments on abstract, but the comments will be more on the inner part. So it is important that you also consider looking at the discussion first, that is the brain and take home for when you read, as a reader, read the paper. Next comes with the conclusion. So I don't know how many of you write future perspectives in the conclusion. Like, you have done this, you achieved this, or you came to a conclusion this. What could be next can be done. So you are giving a message to other, like in some movies they say, no, wait for the second part. The same way. So in your research also, you should know what is the vision of your work that could be carried out. So I don't know how many papers, of course there are certain journals, they specifically ask you to mention the future perspective, not all of them. So in the future perspective anyway, we have to, the researcher have to mention what could be done further on your paper, right? So these are the things that you could do on paper reading. Next, I saw a shortfall in scientific writing. Oh yeah.
Sir, generally I watch the diagrammatic part, the graph, and the pictorial part,
Okay.
and then I read the full article.
Okay. Yeah, that is also good. It depends upon different area. So one of the comment from Arvind Preet was, she used to look at the pictorial representations or flow charts or some data to make a decision. Yeah, that also sometimes depends, because we need to know whether uh, whatever I am looking for is actually there or not. So yeah, it depends, but again, ultimately discussion is also important. Yeah, someone else want to give more comments, please? Apar, I think you try to unmute. Okay, fine. So I'll go to the next. Okay, okay. If you want to come into some discussion, please unmute yourself and start introducing. No problem.
No, sir, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So the next thing is that mainly is writing scientific papers and reports. How many of you know about the word mind mapping and brainstorming, especially mind mapping? You can unmute and engage.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get a question right.
Do you know what is mind mapping? Mind mapping.
While writing a paper,
Yes.
to join things,
Okay.
To
So
get the whole idea,
to get the whole idea, to join things. Okay.
like charting some ideas, and then to summarize the
To summarize, to charting, okay,
information,
charting the
like to
information,
make a map of a particular building, that model.
okay. Any other comments?
To give a blueprint about what your idea is and how will you communicate to others.
Great phrase, a blueprint of what to be communicated. Okay, next. Awesome. So thank you so much for those things. They are all right ones. So on a layman terms, mind mapping is group of words, or you just pinpoint only the main phrase and you chart everything out, and you might have a workflow there already designed, and then when you start writing the paper, these are your key points to explain it. The reason why I want to mention that it is very important that you have to maintain the mind map, because uh, for me, I don't know about others, for me, when I'm writing paper, I want to explain everything. I tend to make lengthy sentences. uh, I tend to make usage of more articles. This is only because I did not pre-plan what I have to, where I have to stick to, what is the limitation I have to set, or the boundaries I have to set myself. Because being an expert, I try to explain more, right? So this is the advantage of mind mapping. So you can try mind mapping when you're on writing scientific reports and scientific papers. So the next topic what we want to discuss was your career opportunities and entrepreneurship. Coming to career opportunities, guys, you can always submit your questions if something that we did not cover on the Mentee. Sonalika, is there something that you want to ask?
So when we talk
Sorry, your audio is, you're not audible. Hello.
a question
Sonalika,
I get often is like I'm
Sonalika, your audio is, you're not audible properly. So either you can put your questions in Mentee if you have a internet bandwidth issues.
right. I'm doing my masters. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Now it is better.
Hello.
Yeah.
So can you hear me audible, sir?
In between it is good, but if you want to put your questions on Mentee, it is fine, so that we don't have this issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just my question. I've opened Mentee. Currently pursuing my masters in right, sir. So can
Okay. If you have a good internet, go ahead, no problem. In between, the audio was having issues.
so my question is basically whether we go
Sorry,
like
sorry,
many
Sonalika.
of us we get confused. Like, should we
Sonalika,
go for
I
PhD and get into research, or should we go in?
sorry, Sonalika, your audio was still not clear. Please put in your question to Mentee. Okay. Okay, so I think a little bit of her questions. I think it's here. Like, what's the opportunity for PhD students in bioinformatics for getting into industry? What are the possible job roles? Um, yes, during the time of 2001 or two, I think that's where bioinformatics got into curriculum. Being this is public, let me tell you, the bioinformatics started as more of biology rather than programming. But as years passed on, we could see more programming came into the curriculum of bioinformatics. So Perl, Python, C++, Java, all came into the picture. But as when you see the bioinformatics industry, in between it went down, the peak was very low, the recruitment or opportunities of bioinformatics. But when the NGS has come, the next generation sequencing era has come, it has gone up again. And when ML also came into the time, so these things have much better evolved. So, but still we have a little bit lacking. The requirement for the industry is you need to know statistics, you need to know programming, and you need to have a domain expertise. Now, programming means it's not your only your lab exercises. When someone is going to give you a new problem, you have to sit and create, come up with a flowchart and program yourself. That is what is missing. So, if a person can still program and has a good programming capability along with statistics and NGS, see what is NGS? Of course, you have learned all this in your sequence analysis paper. But coming to NGS, it's more of analysis part, assembling and applying Python and doing further analysis. You have to be good in that, and that's where your role comes into bioinformatics. Now I know what you're expecting there. When you're looking at drug discovery part, people industry do not require much of bioinformaticians in drug discovery. Fortunately, they are looking for a person who is having an understanding of chemistry. Of course, in drug discovery, target identification is very important. Systems polypharmacology is also very important, where bioinformaticians has the role. So when you do target identification, of course, understanding of proteomics, proteins, and other mechanism driven pathways are very important. But how far you have gone in depth, that is a question. Because when you are doing these kinds of target identification or mechanism driven pathways, you need to know about metabolism. You need to have an understanding of biochemistry. I understand that you have biochemistry as a paper in a curriculum, but how far depth you have gone into it,
Yes, sir.
that is important. So the job roles are there many, and then the other role is more of bioinformatics. You can see on a computational aspects, more of a in the IT perspective. So, but to be honest with you, I was not a programmer. I didn't learn programming very well when I finished my bioinformatics. And if you ask me, I was a biochemist. My bachelor's was more into biochemistry. So I was more into this mechanism driven area. So that's why I switched on to drug discovery area. So you need to identify what is your strength and then try to focus on which area you want to look at.
So frankly speaking, I'm a replica only. I have no interest in programming as well. Even I'm doing a project on drug discovery as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I said. So when you have so I have people from biotechnology as well as for bioinformatics who are doing drug discovery projects, but they have to have an interest to learn a bit of chemistry. Chemistry is very, very, very trivial there when you're doing drug discovery. So,
Right, sir.
so you need to have a understanding. So when you're coming, so most of the time we think it's just molecular docking. Molecular docking is just the initial screening part, where usually
Right, sir.
in pharma industry it is done by computational chemist, not bioinformatician. So for a bioinformatician can easily come into it if you have an understanding of pathways, mechanism driven, as well as chemistry. Chemistry, I don't say that you need to be masters in chemistry. What I'm trying to say is you need to have an understanding or brush up your basically you have to brush up your plus 2 chemistry, organic chemistry, these kinds of understanding. What is nucleophilic reaction, what is hydrophobicity, what is lipophilicity, those kinds of understanding should be there. That is very important. Okay.
S- So maybe the attributes will
Okay, so next question is, sir, I'm pursuing masters currently, sir, is it better to go for a PhD or join research or go for a private sector? So it again depends. If you have time, that okay. I have another 5 more years or 4 more years to start earning, and my passion is more to do research and to ask more questions. Please join for PhD or join for research. But you have your commitments. I understand there will be a lot of commitments, especially financial. Then, of course, you have to go for a job. But still, if your passion is to do research, I recommend have a balanced understanding of which one to be given more priority and then go. For example, in my case, I had commitment. I had an offer from university in India to take the PhD with stipend. I did not take that. I went for a job because I had commitment. I worked for around 6 years, and then only I did went to do my PhD. So in this during the 6 years, I was trying for many other professors, and finally got in US, University of Florida, with Professor Alan Katruski, and with the fellowship, and along with the University of Tartu with the Professor Matti Karlsson. So that's how I ended up doing PhD. So I had a gap between my master's and PhD for about 6 years. So it is, again, I cannot generalize things, right? So when you go to private sector, don't think about research much. But if you are joining a research organization, of course you do research, but there are limitations what to do, what not to do. You don't have your freedom to do whatever you want. So that is my take on that. Next is, sir, I have a good hold in data analysis through databases and softwares, but I have no interest in programming. What shall I do about it? Shall I force myself in programming or what? So I have heard from many of the experts who are telling us, mostly in India, we are good users, but we are not developers. There are few groups in India, of course, they're developing few softwares, codes. I know many of them. It's good. But then we have to also consider which one to be taken care. So just a minute, I have to try to start. I'll be just doing it. So we need to have a better understanding about which one we have to undergo. So that is very important that we also manage our um, possibilities of interest. So that's what I was trying to mention, that when you have a lot of data analysis through database and software, we are just mostly like users. So until you do programming, we are not developers. So this is very trivial on understanding what I have to do. Being an user is not at all an issue, but you should be good at interpretation of your data and results. That is also very important. So if you are able to make things much better and clear on what I have to achieve, then there is no point. So I don't push you to do programming until unless you are really interested in it. Now, programming means it's not only about a specific language, it's about understanding of mathematics also. That is also there. So understanding of mathematics is very trivial when you are doing this. So this is how we have to work on prioritizing whether I have to work on the software side, on the application side, or on the developmental side. The next question is, are there any opportunities for an undergrad, or most of the openings are for masters and PhD students only? Yeah, that is the problem here. When you come to life sciences, there are opportunities for undergraduates, but the way you expect, the expectations cannot be met. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Mostly salaries. But if you look at IT field or some other field, they prefer more of undergraduates like BTech or BE, rather masters and PhD. So when you're coming to a research science or life sciences, it's mostly preferred is masters as well as PhD. Now, coming to research, don't think that I need to have a PhD to do research. No, nothing like that. Even if you're a master who are able to ask the right question, who are able to find the right information, and able to follow the pipeline and come up with wonderful ideas, a masters can also do. I've seen many job openings where they have mentioned PhD is preferred, but a master's with a proven record of research and academic career is also considered. So that means it's not that PhD is mandatory, but ensure with masters you have to do research and you have to have sufficient experience on executing a research, implementing it, and coming up with some results. Now, don't think that the results in research results should be always positive. Nobody looks at that. One of my first publication was in Beilstein Journal of Organic Chemistry. We reported negative results there anyway. We spent a lot of money on synthesis, and we did collaborated with the people to do bioassay in vitro studies, but ultimately our compounds were not much active than the control. It was a negative result, but still we published it, and we spoke more about that particular work. So don't think that research means always it should be positive. It's a process of learning. It's a trial and error which makes you get experience how to face hiccups, checkpoints. So you always have a plan to do some research with plan A. Most of the time it doesn't work. So you should be ready with plan B. When plan B is not ready, you should be ready with plan C. When you don't have plans A, B and C, you are stuck. So when you're writing your synopsis or proposal, you should have a better understanding what are the possible challenges in front of me. What are the things already being explored? When they are exploring earlier on the research, what are the possible challenges they expected? And what I'm trying to achieve from this particular research analysis, whether I will achieve or not. If I'm going to achieve, what are the hurdles in front of me? How I can overcome that? So these are the things that you have to keep in your mind, so that is the best way that we need to understand whether you're trimmed or whether you're drilled to handle research problems. So when you're looking at openings, I understand, as I already discussed with you, there are certain opportunities for undergrads, there are certain opportunities for masters and for PhD students. Now, the another scenario is that we can see most of the time we look at abroad PhD or Indian PhD. We will discuss about that in a while after answering this question. Sir, how should we approach professors from foreign university? Good, I am at the right place. Should we have some good research paper to back us, or should we go through university portals like GRE and other tests? Thanks. Thank you so much for this question. Anyway, I'm there to discuss about that. So when I was applying, I'll tell you my personal experience and then I'll generalize the things. When I was initially writing my emails back in 2004 and 2005, nobody to tell me how to write, what to write. Nobody there, no internet portals to help me. What are the templates available like what you have now? So that time I used to write lengthy emails with an attachment of CV and write to people. Nobody replied. Nobody. And I usually used to follow up, no replies from them. And the days goes on, I started working, and then I realized many things have to be very peculiar when you're writing to foreign professors, because the salutation, the way you write, the way you address them is completely different from what you do here in India. Now it is good. I don't bifurcate them. Now it's everything is same. So what I mean to say is, make your email very short, addressing their research work. Means, so dear sir, my name is this so and so, or dear professor, this is my so and so. I went through your paper, specify the paper, and it came across that this is really interesting. I have some hypothesis which I thought of, so and so. Just give a very brief, maybe 1 or 2 sentence. I would like to carry out my research in this area. Would it be possible, could you please let me know the possibilities, or what are the procedures in order to join for a PhD in your university under your guidance? Don't send any CV, make it very short, thanks, that's it. Once a professor sees that you read his paper and you have interest to work under him on that specific area, and your hypothesis also have a high catchy phrases on them, he will 100% reply you. He will say, I am really interested. The only hiccup comes there is when he replies, either you come with your own funding, I don't have any funding, or you apply for some fellowships. I'm always happy to accept you. Could you please send me your CV? When they ask you, you send the CV. This has a better connectivity and they are going to reply you. Let me assure you, the people who have done internship here, they have applied to many professors abroad, and the rate of responses is like 80 to 82 percentage. We have seen that, and many professors are supporting them to write proposals to submit to Indian fellowship grants. So that is a way that you have to attract them. So you need to understand that how worth you are if they hire you or if they guide you. That's what the understanding that they're looking for. The next thing is when you go for PhD admission. So once you clear the professor's interest, next is PhD admission. For PhD admission, there are certain requirements. Yeah.
So what should be the salutation?
Salutation can be dear professor or dear doctor, whatever name it is, full name. No sir, don't use sir or madam. Even you can use hi also, hi professor. So mention if he is a professor, professor and full name. Okay.
Okay, either we have to use hi or dear.
Yeah, either hi or dear, but professor full name. Don't use sir or yeah, don't use sir or madam. So when you're applying to Europe in some countries, you can use a first name only if you know each other better. If you are a stranger or if you are writing for him for the first time, then you most of the time, even in US as well as in Europe, you use the last name. So these things are a bit different. So in order to avoid all those confusion, I'm telling you, just write professor or
But
doctor
India?
full name. Sir is most recommended. Dear sir or dear madam is mostly recommended. Okay. Yeah. So, but some places they accept dear doctor. It's also fine, but sir and madam is more recommended within India. But the content, whatever I recommended, is mostly common when you're writing email for requesting for internship or even for training or research work or PhD, whatever it might be. You have to, they have to know that you already undergone through their research area and work, and you found interesting, and that's how they came in. So they should have an understanding on that level. That is very important.
Yes, sir. This is the trick I have used
Yeah.
a year back.
Yeah. And do
And
you
I got a reply from foreign country.
exactly, so you get a reply. Now coming to admission, of course you have GRE requirement. Some universities look at TOEFL, and let's say GRE and TOEFL everything is good with many applicants. Then they look at your Indian competitive exams like GATE, then NET if it is a science subject, otherwise GATE. So if you are all par with the GRE and TOEFL, then the next thing what they look at is what is the other competitive exams you have come across. So GATE they count actually. But unfortunately, I have to tell you, when I was in the University of Florida, we are in this Indian community association. So we who arrange all these pickups and all those when new students comes in. So the international center used to inform us that we have or and other universities also when I was there, they used to inform there are plenty of applications rejected just because of plagiarism. So when you write your SOPs, ensure that you don't copy paste from your internet. Please, please, please. Just because of that, many of the applications are being rejected. So they do not entertain plagiarism on your research proposal as well as on statement of purpose or personal statement. So keep that in mind. Even though if you have everything else matching or requirements, but if your SOPs and others are plagiarized, sorry. So please be very much sure, and try to attend competitive exams within India, and they also consider that when other GRE or TOEFL in par with other applicants. And coming to Europe, in Europe, like most of the masters are paid. You have to, they have with an option of a fellowship. But in some countries in Europe, if it is an English language, they charge you, but others are free. And for PhD, most of the time you have fellowship, either university fellowship or competitive fellowships, and you can get in Europe. When you're going to US, it's a different scenario. For masters, you have to pay fees. Of course, you can join as a teaching assistant or a research assistant, but after first semester or second semester, they wanted to see your GPA, how you perform, and then they hire you. And in the case of PhD also the same story. Some professors might be having some projects, so they take you, put into that project, and you get monthly stipend. And if you wanted to get into university pool, you have to clear the qualifiers exam. Until then you will be doing your credits, you have to pay for that. So it's a mix and match of paid and with stipend. So it depends what program you have chosen. In my case, it was fully funded by US Department of Agriculture, the project, so I did not pay any penny. It was completely covered, including insurance. So it depends upon how you wanted to. Now, is there any other questions? No. So the other part which today's agenda we had was entrepreneurship. That is something booming up, but be very sure and very careful. Do not overspend. Try to kill your idea at the first stage itself. Means you came up with something innovative idea. Ensure that that idea is not present anywhere else. It's something very novel, or you're doing something different from others, or you're going to have a better opportunities compared to others. If it is not there and you're trying to do an exact copy which is somewhere else, but you didn't know that is there already existing, it's bad. So you need to do a lot of market research before thinking about entrepreneurship. You might be having a wonderful idea, try to evaluate it, and then also try to come up with better options how you can innovatively attract people, because entrepreneurship is not just starting a company, it is about making money. You have to make revenues, you have to pull in, attract investors, you have to go on with the research, you need to have better what is attraction of delivering good results which can increase your revenue. So entrepreneurship is challenging but very attractive if you have very good innovative projects. So I have started a company, Shastra Innovations, back in 2015 after coming back from my PhD and Marie Curie fellowship from Europe. So yeah, it's already, the journey is running now. We are on the fifth year, so it's going so far good. But we need to have a better understanding what we are going to do, whether customers will listen to us, whether there are customers to buy our products. All those things you have to have a better understanding. So yeah, that's about entrepreneurship. But if there is any other questions, you can unmute yourself, or I can go to the next slide. Do you have anything else you wanted to ask? Okay, so if you have any ideas or different ways that these things to be carried out, you can post it. If you don't have anything, we can pass on to the next, so that we can end this session. So thank you so much for your time and patience, and you can visit our website www.shastrain.com, and there are email addresses whatever you require, so that you can send the details, so that my team will be responding to your email for what all the documents are required for internship, and we will be able to help you on our free times. There might be a little bit of delay on responding to your emails, but ensure that you get a response. If there is no other questions, I can end up the session. But if you have anything, you can unmute and shooting it up. You can shoot it up.
Hi sir, this is Apati.
Hi, Appa.
Sir, as you said that you have internship possibilities at your end and Zastra end,
Yes.
are there any job opportunities as well? Because as I asked the question as well, because for undergrad students there are not so many opportunities in the field of bioinformatics or research itself.
Okay.
So does Zastra or Shastra?
Um, it is anyway a modified name of Shastra anyway,
Okay,
but just put Zastra. That's also Shastra is well and good. Here, what we are trying to see is that we do have opportunities for internship. Now, coming to job opportunities, of course, we do have on the developmental side. So developmental side in the sense like if you are able to make something new. So if you see the agenda I was telling you, a developmental portal for QSAR modeling, so those things are possible. So if you are doing something on the developmental side, of course we have openings and opportunities, but on the other side, on completely on a research perspective, we won't be able to hire you. Yeah, but on the business perspective, of course we do have openings. To make it very clear, but if you are doing something on the development like php, perl, python, and development of portals for qsar models or python, those, yes, we do have openings, but on
I
a, yeah.
I do have some understanding of Python and R and yes, Perl as well,
Okay.
but I'll look into more about what Jastra is basically doing and then get back to you on more.
No problem, no problem. See, that is what I was telling you earlier. Initially, in our days, we had basic and we had C programming to learn. And in our CV, we did C programming. We know C programming. But when we went to interview, they gave us a problem to do and we didn't know. So whenever we say, I know C program, mostly it will be a lab exercises what is given to us. So we need to come out of that and we have to learn ourselves and do, okay, I have this problem, let me do a programming, can I do it or not? When you're able to do that yourself, that's where you can claim, yes, I know. So that we need to have an understanding, what should I write as I know or I am a beginner. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Appa. Anything else? Okay, I don't see anybody has any more questions. So thank you so much, and we will meet in any other sessions like weekly talks, or some sessions are coming up with um, pathway driven or mechanism driven drug designing, AI in drug designing, as I invited few other experts in this domain, so they will be giving the sessions. Oh yeah, someone is having some query, please.
Sir, is there any online opportunity for internship?
Okay, so during okay, thank you so much for reminding me that I forgot to mention. Due to this situation, I can see that it will be difficult for you to travel, and you are spending most of your time at home. Of course, we can do a online based internship, that is called e-internship. If it is acceptable to your institution, we are absolutely fine. But you have to tell us when you wanted to start, and so there will be a mechanism. So in our internship program, it's slightly different. Every week you have to submit weekly report. Every week you have to give a presentation not less than 20 slides to all the people on a specific topic. Every week, it's not like 1 week and all. Every week. So once you have a better understanding about the science, about the theory, about the software, then you put your hands wet on the projects. Your project, once you have your data all collected, once you understand what to do, what not to do, what kind of methodologies to be used, then you're ready to execute your project. Most of the time we start doing the project and then only we try to understand what I have to do, or what software or which software I have to learn. That's why there's a lot of delay happening. So here it is a mechanism that you get prepared with what all you have to know to execute that project, and then you start executing it. Once you're getting executed, the only question is whether it is positive or negative. That's all. So this is a mechanism that we try to drive in, and from once you start doing your project, you have to start writing your manuscript or your scientific report. So parallelly, you're doing your work as well as writing your reports. Correction and all will happen only at the end, but we want you to put in the data there. So that's how gradually it goes in. So we have minimum of 30 days and maximum of 1 year. Yes, Sonalika, you can shoot your questions.
Yes, so my question is, do we need to post a research proposal for joining this e-internship, or we be getting a project from your side?
So any internships, we recommend for you to come up with your own project with the consulting with your faculty who's responsible for your internship program or whatever it is. Because I think that for internship you have credits. So you need to discuss with so that it will be beneficial for your faculty as well as for you. For us, anyway, whichever projects you're coming in within our focus area, it is fine. The next part is, of course, we can give you our projects, but they are all long term. Minimum of 5 months you have to stay with us. Then only we can give our projects. But for short term projects, we recommend you guys to bring in your project.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So like there are no credits in my college. I'm from Punjab University, and there are no such credit scores and things.
Okay.
So if we go for a project of your side for like say 5 months and we do it online, we can do it. It
Absolutely
would be
fine.
feasible, I think so.
Absolutely fine. If you are able to meet the deadlines, you're absolutely fine to do that. No issues. But
Yes, sir.
meeting
So
deadlines is
do
very
make a
important.
plan and yeah. Hello.
You have to meet your deadline.
Yes,
That
sir.
is
Am I
very important.
audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That we need. So the thing is, we would love to hear from your side if you make a plan and tell us how do we do go about it.
Yeah, first of all, for that also, anyway, apart from the research proposal, you have to submit all the documents as a statement of purpose, then
Yes, sir.
your detailed CV and a
Yes,
recommendation
sir.
letter from your anybody. So that will help us to consider your area. Based on your area only, we can give the we don't want to give projects to people who are not interested into that area. So we want to see your documents first, and then we propose it to you.
Okay, sir. So it would be. Sir, is this your mail ID?
So this you can go to this website. The mail IDs are there. So then you can email there.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Arvind,
So initially we would be learning the tools and softwares for doing
yes.
the project,
Initially, you will be
or we
starting.
have to learn it on our own.
So
We have to come.
initially you will be learning about the methodologies, theories, and then the softwares. And once you start with your project, you have to completely dedicate your time on reading about the mechanism or what all things have been already done. Now your question was very good. I understand that what you were asking, have we should be prepared before joining for the internship. It is always good because you will get some more productive time on spending more time on your project rather than learning the stuff when you are in the internship program. But it's up to you because from our experience what we understood that is before joining for internship, even though we have given literatures and other things to go through and learn and come, never happened. Very minimal, very few people have done that. So if you're okay to do that, we are fine. We will be tracking it everything on weekly basis. We are fine. But you need to have a good what to say dedication on reading. Unfortunately, it will be boring, but without reading you cannot do anything. So there will be a lot of reading involved. Anything else by anybody else? I can see there are a few questions and discussions on YouTube, but sorry guys, I won't be able to access it right now. I will try to reply via um, uh, the other things. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. So we will catch up in the next session. Okay. Thank you then. Bye bye.